Mr. Chair, if I'm counting correctly, I believe we have a quorum. So we can officially start the meeting whenever you're ready.
Thank you, David. Thank all of you for showing up today. I would like to request a motion to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
I see Philip McKenzie.
Yep. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yes.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved and the agenda is adopted. We do would like to ask if there's any updates that anybody would like to mention now, or if they want to wait until the end of the meeting. No hands? Perfect. The next.
Mr. Chair, I can do a quick roll call just to get that out of the way.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will call your name and please say present or here. Dr. Kate Bean. Lauren Bennett McGinty.
Here.
Thank you. Shelley Buck.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Drazkowski.
Present.
Thank you. Louise Fitch.
Present.
Thank you. Representative Freiberg.
Present.
Thank you. Anita Gall.
Here.
Thank you. Michael Harrelson. I see you waving. Thank you.
Yes, here.
Kim Jackson.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Kunesh.
Here.
Thank you. President Robert Larson. Denise Mazzone. Philip McKenzie.
Here.
Thank you. Representative Olson.
Present.
Thank you. Secretary Simon.
Here.
Kent Whitworth. Aaron Whitnable. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, David. Next point is to talk a little bit about the public input, the rules for public submittal of the state flag and seal submission. We have overdue draft that we sent yesterday, and we just got back some new notations from our lawyer that we are able to, they were consulting with us for the intellectual property part. And we have a document that David, if you don't mind talking about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Fitch. You'll recall at our last meeting, we had a conversation about how we plan to accept public input in the form of designs from the public, from perhaps school kids, perhaps designers and others. And in order to do that, we at the Minnesota Historical Society will create a form on the CIRC website, and accompanying that will be a set of guidelines or rules to guide that. We had some discussion last week and took some suggestions in from you to put some guardrails and parameters on what those rules are. And with the help of our staff, thank you, Brett, for getting us started on a draft. And as Chair Fitch mentioned, there was also some discussion last week about ensuring that we're getting this right, particularly in the area of intellectual property, and making sure that participants or submitters understand that they are giving property rights or intellectual property over to the state of Minnesota. I think we don't want to be in the business of negotiating with the many people who will submit ideas, but this is a public activity. So There were a few suggestions on how to get some legal assistance, possibly, preferably some pro bono assistance. And thanks to Commission member Aaron Whitnable, we found someone who was willing to do a quick review, and I mean quick. They turned it around very quickly and took a look at the language to make sure that we were doing this right. So we really appreciate the folks from Fish and Richardson, intellectual property law firm, patent law firm, with offices here in the Twin Cities. So what we have is two different things. One is the draft that you sent out or that you received, you received yesterday. And that incorporates, let me mention another thing. When we discussed this last week, we asked if anyone would volunteer to take a look at the draft that we had, and Senator Kunish and East Mazzone volunteered to look at that draft, and they made some comments, and Chair Fitch and Vice Chair Gall made some comments, and that's what you're looking at. So I think maybe the best way to proceed is first to ask Senator Kunish if she has any comments, because she volunteered to do a review of this, and then see if you have some general comments on the draft. And then what I can do is put up on the screen the suggestions from Fish and Richardson, which I will describe as pretty straightforward. They're clarifying some specific terms, defining some terms, and then changing the sequence around a little bit. So, Mr. Chair, if that's okay, perhaps we can hear from Senator Kunish first, and then have an open discussion about the draft, and then take a look at the additional changes that were suggested by legal counsel.
That sound good? Okay. Yeah, thank you for just the quick turnaround on this. We have such a small, short timeline that I think it was really great that we were able to look at the draft and be able to make some of the suggestions and the changes. I thought that the initial outline was really well done and had just about everything in there. I think I made a couple of suggestions, just especially around the commenting about the submissions, to keep it limited to a certain number, to a certain length. Otherwise, I think we could probably get some really, really, really good extensive reviews of the work. But I think the way that it all turned out seems very well. I looked at a few other states and how they did it, and I think this looks like a really good outline and guidance for those that would like to submit their designs. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, should I show the share screen and show the suggested changes from Fish and Richardson first, or do you want to open it up for general discussion first? You're on mute.
Sorry. Yes, sorry. I would say that very quickly we can, if anybody has any suggestions or anything from the one that we sent yesterday. If not, then we can move to the second one. No? Doesn't look like, right? So let's go ahead, David. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Bear with me. Right, can you guys see that?
Perfect, David, thanks.
Okay, great. I'm going to just quickly run through this, and again, you all have seen this, and thanks for the quick turnaround. The new underline and overstrike and shading in pink is the changes suggested by Fish and Richardson. So I'll just pause on each of those, and please jump in if you have any questions. As mentioned, their general suggestion was to change submitters to eligible participants, and move that definition up to the top of the document so that the term would be defined early on in the document. So that's showing up where I have the cursor now in that. Eligible participants change from submitters or participants. We're giving a deadline through October 30th for this, so there's really lots of time, or as much time as we have available to do that. Again, eligible participants. Here's a number that we need to fill in, how many entries folks are able to submit for flag and seal. The number 3 had been suggested, but let's come back to that and just make sure we fill that out. So again, eligible participants. Some more eligible participants. This was the real thing that we wanted to have some more eyes look at, and just to make sure we got right with the property rights and intellectual property. And they did a little bit of wordsmithing on this. Submissions shall become the sole property of the state of Minnesota and will not be returned to the participant. And that is fairly straightforward. The goal here is to make it understandable to all Minnesotans, school kids and their parents, and anyone else who wants to submit. People are affirming that they're not copying others' work and that violating intellectual property rights of a person or entity. We're making it clear that there is not a fee to enter or payment for someone's successful entry, but we will thank them in the appropriate way and mention that their submission was the winning one. So that is really the substance of the changes. We had some other notes down here. We will prepare a form that goes alongside this with a couple of check boxes that say, check, I agree, I have read the terms and conditions of the entries, and I agree that any submittal will be the property of the state of Minnesota, just to make sure that people are clearly seeing and agreeing to that. So I'm going to stop sharing unless someone wants me to go back over a specific section. I believe that's Senator Drazkowski.
Thanks, David. Yeah, the question I have is about the plagiarize section. So is it going to be the judgment of the group if someone puts forward a symbol or a shape or a color or other identity that is maybe well known among the population or that people can relate to, that may have some intellectual property issues or may not, depending on how closely it aligns with it? Obviously, none of us are intellectual property attorneys, but how is that decision going to be made? Is it going to be construed by the group, or I don't know, did I lay out the question well enough?
Senator, I think I understand what you're saying, and others please jump in. I think I hope that we will know it when we see it for an example of what you're talking about. And say, for example, someone had a star that's in common public domain, a star. If someone had something that reflected, just making up an example, say a hockey team, we might have to do some further investigation of that. The group can discuss it, and then if we get to a situation where we need to do some further investigation and research on that, then we can do so at that point. Hope that answers your question. Please jump in.
Well, I think that's a good approach. However, the language just basically says it's going to be dismissed. So I'm sitting in my truck right now and I'm looking at a picture of a stop sign on a sign. And if someone puts forward something that is in the shape and similar colors to a stop sign, you know, I don't know if that's intellectual property or not, but the reaction of the group would be, with this language, would be, oh, that's a stop sign, and that's you know, that's protected or whatever. I think we need to be clear what the steps are from the group at that point. Is it going to be, okay, well, that's a stop sign. We need to see if this is in direct legal violation, or it's a rendition of a stop sign. Is it close enough that it will be a problem or not? I guess I just hope that it's not dismissed, because there may be some good ideas that come forward that are similar to what other people have already produced in society.
Anyone else care to address that? Do we need some further clarification? It does say any plagiarized works, if discovered, will be disqualified. So it's not, that suggests some kind of a discussion process that we as a group will have to determine if something is plagiarized. I think there's some other language in here that gives the commission some latitude to accept or reject submittals and process them. I think the other thing is there will, later on in the process, there will be possibly some modifications of submittals, and if something looks good but violates copyright or other things, they could be altered slightly to avoid copyright violations.
Yeah, maybe the word plagiarize is a question, but it'd be intellectual property violation, or I don't know. Anyway, just I think good discussion, but I would hope we don't dismiss or have the potential to dismiss things that could lead us to maybe some adaptation of something that's submitted that could be the best idea.
Senator, the line right above the plagiarized, it says that the submitter affirms that it does not violate the intellectual property rights of any other person or entity. So the submitter is affirming. They may or may not know that they're violating that, but Secretary Simon wants to address this point directly. He's had his hand up for a moment.
Yeah, hey, thanks to Senator Drazkowski. And actually, I just got bumped for 30 seconds, so I don't know if this came up, but I can't see Mr. Kelleher on the language that Lisa is showing on my screen. I just wanted to make sure that the piece is still in there about adapting their work. We wouldn't want anyone to get angry, upset, or go to court. So, okay, is it in there? The idea, as Chair Fitch has said a number of times, this is standard practice in his industry. Someone could submit a design and they're agreeing that we can modify it, we can adapt it, which I understand is the practice. That was just the chief concern that I had. And then I have just one other quick issue.
Secretary Simon, I am pretty sure that is in here, but I don't have it right at my fingertips. So give me a second to
I do see it in the draft that you sent us, where it says 5 submissions will be selected for final consideration. And then in the commission's sole discretion, 1 design, and then in parentheses, or a modified version from the 5 final submissions will be selected.
Thank you, Senator. That's exactly the language I was thinking about. It just seemed to me, given Chair Fitch's explanation to those of us not in that business, that this is common, but we wouldn't want someone saying, hey, wait a minute, I submitted the design and you changed it or you modified it. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we were protected in that way. And then the only other thing, I hate to pull the pin on a grenade here, but I'm just, I'm wondering whether we need to, I don't know, I truly don't know the answer, address AI. Do we want to say anything about that? Do we want or need? I honestly don't know the answer, but do we need to say something about that the eligible participant warrants that this is not AI generated, or do we not care? Maybe this is for Chair Fitch. Maybe someone introduces something that's AI generated and we say, well, that's great, we're going to modify it. I just don't know in the business whether that's standard or not.
Sorry, I was having trouble with my computers. I think I heard the question. Secretary Simon. That's a tough one. And I think whatever at the end are the finalists, I think we're going to have some sort of quick research. I know that we cannot trademark colors. If there's a particular image, I don't know to what point you can trademark a star, for example. A lot of flags have a star. Simple shapes, we're going to have to do a quick research. Basically, we want to make sure that no other state have whatever we're suggesting. That's like standard. But then there's going to be, do we look at other countries and other places to see if they have similar to the flags that we're suggesting? So we definitely need, I know that there's, when we do logos and branding, we always have a lawyer to make sure that we can trademark the flag. I'm not sure if a flag from a state, United States, can be trademarked or not.
But Mr.
Anita?
Chair, does that cover AI though? What about that issue? What if someone submits something that is AI generated? I don't know the answer. I don't know what's standard in your industry. Is that okay as long as we can moderate it or modify it? Do we care? Is the question I have.
Yes, I think we should not care. It's going to be obvious. It depends what it is. So AI can just do stripes and color. That's very simple. We will not even know that AI developed that because any human can do that. But if it's developed something very complex, right? Like it grabs all these different symbolisms and it looks very Photoshop, then it's questionable. And then we can, and we know that we don't want something so complex either. So AI tends to do things that are very complicated and not simple. And it would be easy to spot on if AI was developed or not. And we can always question that too as part of our filtering system. But that's a really good question. I see. Sorry, Anita.
I was just wondering, in regards to the AI question, is that something when they fill out the disclaimer, you know, I have read all of the rules and I understand, is that a category? It should be either this is a completely original work and check that box, or there has been some modification of AI produced imagery or something, so that we just know right away going in whether this is completely original or even to any extent AI generated.
Those are really good questions. And it's all new for all of us in the industry with AI, when it becomes yours or it's not yours. Since you're putting the input and the information that you want out of it. And I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that. But I know that we will see it when it's obvious. And I think we can make a good judgment for the finalists.
But just to be fair, sometimes you can't see it. I mean, I'm hitting that as a teacher now. I can't always tell if that's AI generated or a student's. And so I'm not sure that we'll always be able to tell. And maybe that's something we should just know and ask them to disclose up front.
I'm thinking, Anita. There's more questions, Mr. McKenzie.
Hi. Excuse me, sorry, I haven't spoken this morning. Where'd that come from? Secretary Simon, I think, raises a very good point about this. Is this an issue that the firm that helped review our conditions could relook at? They do intellectual property. I'm just wondering if there's some standard language that might protect us. In terms of being able to recognize it or not, do we have an opinion on if we accept something that's not recognized, or even if it is, but it happens to be the best entry, is that actually an issue? Should it be an issue that it should be a person design, not a person who connected with AI? Should we be concerned about that? And I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that it's probably going to be obvious, but if not, does it remain an issue?
Those are really good questions. And Olivia?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I believe Kate Bean has her hand raised and possibly came in under Olivia's Zoom account. Kate was having some trouble earlier getting into the meeting.
Understood.
Thank you, David,
Apologies.
thank you, David, for clarifying names and titles. Can you hear us? Do you have your hand raised or not?
Yes, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. How on you, Olivia?
Technology. We're all talking about AI and I can't even get into the meeting. No, I had a question about AI as well. I was thinking about that, and I'm dealing with that with students as well. And I think one of my concerns was whether AI generated images can be copyrighted, and whether we care or not is one question, but whether we should care is for this particular topic was another. And so I think we just need to do a little bit more digging. I mean, all of this is new in the art world and in university circles and everywhere. And so I think if we could do a little bit more digging in terms of what that means and how that impacts this, I imagine we're the first to be dealing with this in regards to state emblems. So we need some care around it.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways of looking at this. We can right away say no AI generated images, done. We don't have to worry, right? That's one way. Or if we're going to leave it open, we're going to smell it. We're going to see it. It's going to be so obvious that it's AI generated. And so if it asks AI to generate flags that are simple, it will generate it, but it's going to be similar to thousands of other entrants. So at the end, I think we want to make sure that the person who is submitting it, it's under their name and it's he's giving us the trademark. Now, if it's symbols and they're very complex, I don't think they can be trademarked, depending if those images came from other images that are actually trademarked. It depends how much you change them. And it's, to me, I know that I would not vote for something that is very complex. I think we were looking for a flag that is simple to reproduce and simple to trade. And so I think AI, it's gonna do things that are more complex. And we're gonna be able to see that. But if we're concerned and we don't have the answers and that's stopping us, we can just say, we're not gonna admit AI generated images right away, and we don't have to be concerned. Anita?
With all due respect, Chair Fitch, I don't know if it's going to be obvious that it's AI generated. It's just such a new thing that I don't know that we're going to be able to tell. And I do like Olivia and Phil's suggestion that maybe we should ask the legal team if there is some industry standard language about AI that we could consider incorporating into this as a way to protect ourselves in case it is a copyright infringement. I don't know, but maybe that's something they could look into.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can definitely ask them and see what they respond to us.
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
Harrelson?
Michael Harrelson has his hand raised.
Yes, please.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Perfect.
All right. Just a quick search. State flags can't be registered or trademarked. Coat of arms, any symbols of foreign country or U.S. state or municipality can't be trademarked. That's per a quick search with a IP law firm. So I don't know if it matters then if an AI design can or can't be copyrighted, because if it is put on a flag, then it wouldn't be able to be copyrighted.
The way that I saw the question was that the images that they're generating and we're receiving of those copyrighted.
Okay.
Because AI, what it does, it goes to the internet world and grab images from everywhere. And you know, it does their magic, whatever it does. And I don't know to what point, when it makes all these images, it's trademark or copyright. And when do you lose the trademark and copyright from the original? I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that it's obviously that it's unique and nobody's going to sue us. But it's good to know that then flags and seals are public domain in a way, right? If they're not trademarked.
Correct.
So we can consult with the law firm, see if they can help us with this. And it's all new territory for all of us. Any other questions? So my computer for some reason wasn't working for 5 minutes. I missed a lot of the conversations, but I don't think anything. Can we have a motion for this, or would changes resulting from the legal review or the commission? Can we move based on what's presented, or do we need additional legal issues based on what we're talking?
Chair Fitch, one thing we do have to talk about is how many submissions per person we are going to accept.
Thank you. Absolutely right. We haven't financed that. And I believe there was mentioned last time that one was one thing and then up to 5 or 3. How do we want to do this? Any ideas? All I know is I used Utah, and I don't know how many Utah was able to receive. But they had a longer amount of time for submissions. Ours are shorter. And what does it mean if it's shorter? Do we allow just one? That way we make it even from a professional design firm to a little kid or a mom or a dad who just wants to submit something. Or do we allow everybody to add 2 or 3? I really don't have any recommendations. Representative Freeberg.
Thank you, Chair Fitch. I guess I did listen to the meeting from last week, and I thought Secretary Simon made a good point that there should be just fewer. Generally, he came at it from a position of fewer restrictions. I think it's possible people have more than one idea. I mean, regardless of whether they're a designer or a kid, and one to me seems a little too prescriptive. So I don't know if that means it should be, if it should be 5 or if there should be no limit. But I guess I would err on the side of maybe having it be more than 1 anyway.
Vice Chair.
Just for reference, you asked, Utah allowed 3 per person.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for her. Lindsay?
Yeah, I also looked that up quick for 3, and it appears that Maine might have also had that same amount, 3.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Bean?
I was just gonna mention, I like the sort of smaller numbers around 3. I agree with that. I think that there are gonna be people who will very well submit 20, and then we have to look at 20 and just the short timeline we have. I want to be conscientious of that in terms of the amount of submissions and allow, us to have the time to give each person's submission its due.
Thank you. Senator Kunish?
I also did a little bit of research and saw that 3 seemed to be the magic number. So I think it really is doable, both for us and, if there is somebody that's just got this, creative mind and has a bajillion, it'll help them narrow it down to, their top 3 as well. So I would suggest that we choose that number 3 as the number of submissions.
Perfect. Thank you. Vice Chair?
One thing we do have to consider is, since we're doing both seal and flag, do we allow them to do 3 flag and 3 seal, or 3 total?
No, I would suggest 3 of each. 3 for seal and up to 3 for flag. Does it make sense? Yep. So it looks like 3 is the one, the lucky number. I like 3, so it works for me. Mackenzie?
I would make a motion that we choose the number 3 for submission for each, the flag and the seal.
Anybody wants to second that?
This is Senator Kunish. I'll second it.
Thank you very much. We have 3 is the number, the lucky number. What about the rules?
Mr. Chair, there was a,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, there's a motion on the floor, so maybe take a quick vote on the
Yes,
motion that's
please.
on the floor.
Thank you. Can we vote for that?
All those in favor of the motion?
All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved, and we have 3 submissions. Do we need to do the same for the actual document in general? Yes. So I would like to request a motion to approve the rules for submission. All those in favor, please. Second. Yep.
I didn't see
second.
who
Thank
made,
you.
I didn't see who made the motion.
Dr. Bean.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. There's a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those, please say no. Opposed?
I'm a no. I still want to see the language about AI before
Okay.
I move to say yes.
So how many do we have? What's the vote? Sorry.
Can I rephrase my motion to state that I support this moving forward with an amendment or with added language around AI
So what, a legal review, right?
with a legal review, particularly paying
okay.
specific attention to AI?
Yes, we can do that.
I'll second the amended motion by Dr. Bean.
All those, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Then the motion is approved, and we have the rules for submission with additional legal issues that we might have with the AI, and we'll get hopefully the law firm that's been helping us. Hopefully they can help us with this in particular. If not, we're gonna have to find someone else. It's all new in the industry, so it might be a topic that we keep it more simple and we just suggest that AI generated images are not accepted, and we keep it to that point. Yes, David, you have your hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Of course, this commission is balancing one eye toward the deadline of January 1st with doing the work in a really detailed way. So I think to keep to our timetable, we would want to post the submittal process as soon as practical. And I would not want us to get bogged down in a long discussion of AI. Many of you have stated that this is a new and emerging area of law and public policy. And I think that we ought to be careful to just make sure we keep moving forward. I think what I'm asking is if there is some caution on the part of the legal advisors that we err on the side of moving this forward, posting things. One opportunity that the commission has for some further review is you are picking 5 finalists, and that offers another opportunity for questions and scrutiny and analysis of AI. So we'll try to keep it moving forward, and maybe the way to do this is to keep in touch with the chair and vice chair and ask for some guidance from the chair and vice chair. If there are some larger policy issues that emerge, we can keep the conversation going, but I'd love for us to be able to post this and start accepting public submissions as soon as practical. Thanks.
Secretary Simon. Thank you, David.
Thank you. I just want to put an exclamation point on Mr. Kelleher's comments. I strongly agree. I think the sooner we can get the public involved, the better, and I wouldn't want our discussion to hold that back. So as soon as the Minnesota Historical Society feels it's technologically able, based on our discussion today, I personally would favor going forward. The sooner the better that we can get the public involved.
Any other comments? Yep.
Mr. Chair, Senator Drazkowski has a hand raised.
Please.
Oh, thank you. Just one question. Those of us that are ex officio, I did notice that one ex officio member actually seconded a motion. I expected maybe we would not be in a position to move or second motions. Does anybody know the answer to that? Is that supposed to be happening, or going forward, are we able to do that? If so, the other 3 may want to be aware of that. Then I had some other questions too, and I don't know if this is the right time, Mr. Chair, but we have, at least our office, people have been sending us stuff, and don't ask me why, but they have. And some of them are design ideas. Should we just maybe refer them to this process? I'm guessing it's kind of a rhetorical question, I guess, at this point, which is what we will do. And then we have also been getting comments from people that are strictly comments that are not design submittals per se. But what should we do with those? And then lastly, I've got one more question here. Should we, or will these submissions be displayed anywhere? Will they be displayed on the website for the public to see? Those are, sorry, I've got so many at once, Mr. Chair.
The first question I cannot answer because I don't know who can vote and who cannot vote. I'm new to all this, as you can probably see. The second one, I've been receiving comments too, and it was easy to answer 1 or 2 per day, but now it's just too many and stop. I've received designs also, and I've been telling people to wait, and I think that's the reason and the urgency for us, all of us, to vote for this document so we can put it up to the public and they can start responding. David, you want to answer? You have your
Thank
hand
you.
up.
Just to address some of Senator Drazkowski's questions, if you have received designs via email, you can forward them to us at the Minnesota Historical Society. We are capturing all of both the design suggestions and the comments, and we have a contact software that is capturing, as you can see on the State Emblems Redesign Commission website. There's a place for folks to enter their comments. We can roll those into a spreadsheet so that you all can see all of the comments that have been submitted. So if you want to forward those comments and designs to us on the design side, we'll just roll those into the submittal process and get them entered. We want to just make sure that everyone understands the rules, so we'll figure out how to process those. I think with all of these, including your 4th question about publicly displaying the entries, it's going to depend on how many there are. If there are 75, we can print them out and put them up somewhere. If there are 7,500, that's a different volume to manage, and we're going to have to see how many come in. And we will keep you all posted on what the volume is and what the flow is of entries coming in after we go live on this site. And we'll figure out if there's a way for you all to look at the entries as they come in, so you don't have to look at 7,000 all at once. But I think the first couple of days will be telling and give us a sense of how many will come in. We just don't know at this point what the volume is going to be. So let us give us a few minutes after the meeting to huddle and figure out exactly where you should send things. And we'll send a note out to all of the commission members saying, please send your comments to such and such address, just so we make sure we get them centralized. And same thing with entries. And again, we'll have a little bit more sorting to do to make sure that any entries, the submitters understand the rules that they're following. As to your first question, the legislation calls for ex officio non-voting members. So that would mean, good point, that ex officio non-voting members cannot vote on motions. I would defer to anyone else who understands Robert's Rules of Orders, whether an ex officio non-voting member can make a motion for that. But Senator, good point for us to remember that we have voting members and non-voting members, and we need to keep those lines clear. Thanks.
Thank you, David.
Representative. Thank you, David. Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Chair Fitch. I just want to make sure that the Historical Society has the direction they need to move forward with this, because I agree with David and Secretary Simon that we should start soliciting public input as soon as possible. And actually, I went back and just looked at our proposed agenda, our proposed timeline from last week's meeting materials, and it says actually as of September 25th, we were going to start requesting that the public submit concept designs. So I think we should do it. I mean, ideally within today. I'm a little unclear on what actually the motion was and what we're waiting to get back on the topic of AI, because I heard Chair Fitch say that he didn't think it was a great idea to limit the use of AI because it would become apparent, if it's super complex, then we wouldn't want it anyway. And AI could also just be used to draw something with stripes, in which case, do we really care if it's AI? So I'm a little unclear on what we're waiting whether we're waiting for anything because in terms of the AI direction. So I just wanted to make sure we're able to start getting public input as soon as possible.
Thank you, Representative Freiberg. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, if we want to keep it very simple, we can vote for just having that we will not accept AI generated images for the flag. And that's it. And trust me, we're still going to receive them. And they will be so obvious when we see them because they're going to be just crazy bunch of images. And like you said, if they're simple, we won't know the difference between stripes and color versus something that is more complex.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I mean, in that case, I don't think we need a flat prohibition on it because I don't know if we care that much. So just to go back to my question, like and maybe it's best answered by Mr. Kelleher. Do you have, will you be able to start based on the motion we've already made? Will you be able to start requesting public input this week even?
Mr. Chair, Representative Freiberg, thank you for raising the point. It's a little unclear on the direction the commission wants to go regarding AI. I think if putting aside the AI issue, I believe we would be able to go live within days. So I think it would be helpful to us to just sort of say one way or another, whether you want to accept AI generated images. I think a legal review is going to identify issues, but I think ultimately it's the decision of the commission whether or not to accept AI generated images. So I don't know that we're going to gain a lot of direction from a legal review. We'll gain some parameters, but not direction.
Just since I asked the question, my suggestion would be just to remain silent on it. And based on what Chair Fitch said, if it is apparent that it's being used in a way that causes a problem, it will be pretty apparent and we can disqualify it based on the other criteria we already have. So I think it would just kind of complicate things at this point to try to add in some language on that topic.
I mean, I definitely agree with you. There's a couple of hands. Dr. Bean?
I think Anita had her hand up first.
I'm sorry.
I guess I would disagree with the being silent on it because I just don't want us to have to face consequences if we discover one of the top 5 submissions was actually AI generated and we had nothing built in to address this. So I think just consulting with the legal team right up front, if there is some industry standard language or if there's any parameters we can build in, might save us from a lot of headaches later or legal complications.
But can we keep it just, I'll go ahead, Dr. Bean. Thank you.
I was just going to say my suggestion would be to go ahead so that we can start directing these submissions somewhere, and then taking into consideration that we're going to be doing more research into this topic, but that actual form going out, I don't know that we necessarily need to address it on the form. I mean, maybe we could address it sort of after the fact. I don't know if that is possible.
Secretary Simon?
Thank you. I don't know whether a formal motion is called for, but when I heard Mr. Kelleher use a word like direction, he's looking for direction. That seems like something that's motion worthy. And so, Mr. Chair, I leave that to your discretion. But if you believe a motion is worthy here, then I would make a motion that we direct the Minnesota Historical Society to seek public submissions as soon as possible, notwithstanding our ongoing discussion about AI. That would be my motion.
Anybody want to second that?
I would second that. Bill McKenzie.
All those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Then the motion is approved. Any other questions on this topic? What are we doing with time? Then I think we have covered everything. We have meetings for next step. David, would you like to talk about those?
Oh, thank you,
Are we for
Mr. Chair. As mentioned, we will keep you posted. If there are any issues that are uncovered in the AI conversation with Fish and Richardson. And as mentioned earlier, if we need to get some direction, we can consult with the chair and vice chair if there's any really challenging issues. And we, in the spirit of the motion made by Secretary Simon, we'll keep this moving as quickly as possible. We'll let you know when this goes live. We will keep you posted, give you some updates on the pace of entries, and try to anticipate the volume further down the road. And I think the next couple of topics that we need to tackle will be, as we get some more information on the numbers, what the process by which we'll narrow things down, and the process by which you will review. Again, different process for 75 entries versus 7,500 entries. So we'll continue that conversation as we move forward. One of the other things that is a few steps down the road, perhaps we could have a small group think about how we engage design professionals to, that's called for later on in the process, but it's not too soon to start thinking about how we engage some design professionals to help refine the finalists. So those are a couple of things that are coming up in the somewhat near future, and we'll continue the conversation with chair and vice chair. Perhaps there's a week coming up that we might not need a meeting, but we'll keep in touch with everyone on that. Oh, one other thing I wanted to address. We've had a couple of conversations at meetings about how we get the word out about the submittal process. And we will send out a news release shortly and let you know when that happens. You have suggested other ways to get the word out, and we'll continue that conversation with you. And please send in suggestions and requests for getting the word out.
Thank you, David. And I totally agree. I think once we're getting very close to this, the press release and any other tools that we might have, so we can keep the story correct and the links to the right places. We're going to need that as soon as possible so we can start promoting this, because I think people are anxious and it's ready to roll. So I'm very excited. I think a lot of people are going to be very excited. We just got to start going out there and promoting this. Any other questions or anything else that anybody wants to add before we adjourn? Yes, Vice Chair.
I just wanted to send a shout out to David Kelleher and Lindsay Dyer, who have done a lot of work on creating this draft of the rules and the guidelines. So that was almost solely, they've come up with this and they've done a lot of work, and also for Senator Kunish and Denise for looking over it. So I just wanted to acknowledge the work that they've put into this.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Our colleague, Brett Baldwin, got us started on a draft, so he deserves a lot of credit as well.
I believe we cover all the points of the agenda. It's
Mr. Chair, there's a hand up from Mr. Harrison.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to respond to Senator Drazkowski's questions about procedures. Looks like Robert's rules. Ex officio is just the title. Ex officio members retain all the rights and responsibilities of board members. I would say the statute creating this board, however, limits that, saying that ex officio members are non-voting members, making a motion and seconding a motion aren't votes on a motion. So I think that's a little unanswered, but yeah, ex officio members, because of, I think our statute, can't vote, but whether or not they can make a motion, I don't know, seems like they're able to, and then the voting members can vote on those motions. Just my take.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Representative Freeberg?
Yeah, I did send a message to House Research staff just asking that question when it came up. So I don't have a response yet, but I will I can forward it along as soon as I receive it so we can get some clarity on that point.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Anything else? No hands? But this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.